All right, we're ready to roll. We had a good game, obviously, last week. Everything was kind of what we thought it was when we looked at it. Was proud of the overall group effort. Played smart football. Didn't have a lot of penalties. Guys kept their composure, gave us a chance to fight back and win. So we'll need a good week this week. Obviously, traveling down, playing Saturday night at TCU, and very, very good defense, and fighting through a lot of injuries, and especially on the offensive side of the ball. So, but Gary will get them ready to play. They'll be ready to roll. So it'll be a challenge for us, just like every other game we played. But really like the attitude of our team and their approach and where they're at this time. Sure. You see things that it never fails if you win or lose. You see things that make you think that I'm glad it's not as bad as I thought it was, and then you see things that I thought it was better than that. But always that way. It's been that way for me being in the game for 30-something years. It's never as good as you think it is. It's never as bad as you think it is, just like life.
The last two games have been all season. What was behind that change up for struggling for that?
I'm not sure. I would like to say that we had an answer and fixed it. We stress it consistently all the time. We did it the last 2 weeks. Prior to that, we did it. I'm not sure if maybe in the middle of the year they were a little fatigued defensively and grabbing and, out of good body position and reaching and face masks. And the only thing I can say that we might have stressed more in the last 2 weeks is that our team cannot afford a selfish penalty, which is a late hit, swinging at a player, things like that. We've categorized them as not a dumb penalty, but a selfish penalty, and maybe that's good. If so, we're going to stick with it this week and me from now on. But certainly we've been much better.
Like this team, when they've come off their big wins this year, like Boise and Texas, the following week, hasn't played very well. Is that something that is on your mind heading into this week? Or?
Last week I told you guys, I said, can we just play 2 games back to back? Now we're calling for the 3-peat. And that's honestly what we said. Can you guys do it 3 weeks in a row? And not just them, it's the coaches too. Okay? They've got to come up with good plans. We have to be good instructors and good teachers. And I have to be smart in my approach. And then on game day, it's 90% of players anyway. And it's everybody involved. And so in the meeting last night, I said I would like to have everybody in this room, players and coaches, 3-peat. We get some good, solid plans, some quality work this week, and remove the selfish penalties and make some good calls and play a good, clean game. He did very well. I thought he was physical. Thought he had composure. I thought as the game went on, he had more vision. For running backs in my history, their vision gets better through reps, just like quarterbacks do through reps. Once they see it enough, they get better at it. And for those guys that come through the line, they start to feel the guy coming and how to make the cut in very well. So I thought he was really good for the number of plays that he's competed for us, basically in being in a position where we're playing quarterback.
Saturday, John was going to be out Wednesday. What's kind of his status going forward? Expect out this week?
I feel like he's going to practice Wednesday. It's hard to really tell until they get out there and push around. See, Hambright's pushed around on his and then never got where we felt like we could play a game. Then when we did, he got in practice and got hurt. So it's really hard to know where you're at with those guys until they get out there and go during the week. -3. If you would have told me that at this time a week ago, I'd have said we're probably not in good position to be -3. And I said it after the game, you're -3 in the turnovers, you still scored 45 points. Now what you did is you gave them more points because you put them in a position to be able to, well, one, they get more possessions than us, right? We don't need to go through the math. There's 12 possessions in a game. I get 15 and you get 9. It's not a good set for us. And then we allowed them to have field position. So we addressed it. Taylor threw a couple balls here and there that he'd like to have back, and then Sue needs to do a better job hanging on the ball. I'm not a believer in being rough or scolding them, I guess would be the best term, because you're in the game now. And so we want to be supportive and continue to we want to remind them of what we think happened. You know, one of the things that you do as a young coach you realize is not good is when you say you have to hold on to the ball. Well, he pretty much knows that. You have to tell him why he fumbled, okay? And explain to him the mistake they made and how to prevent it, and hopefully he can absorb that the next time he touches it. Or, the famous line, son, you got to make that catch. He knows that. You got to tell him why he dropped it. So we handle it that way.
Special teams has kind of continued to be a little bit of an adventure, and kickoffs out of bounds have become the new momentum killer. I mean, do you sense that as well? The crowd even gets quiet after a score when you kick it out of bounds.
39 is going to go at it again. When you start out the way he did, we have to make a change, and I'm not a big fan of that. But at that point, we have to put somebody else in there and let him kick. And Hockett came in and did great. Hockett was awesome for us Saturday in a variety of ways. And but 39 will go back at it. We'll put him in there and let him kick. I think he'll be fine. He's young. He doesn't understand how strong his leg is. His leg swing. The only thing I could do would be to relate it to a golf swing. You guys understand. If you come across the ball's going to go that way. Everything's got to come through here, and he doesn't need to. When he tries to kick the ball too hard, he comes across the ball. He doesn't need to do that. He's got a powerful leg. He just has to be smooth. He's going to get 160 out of his 9-iron if he's just smooth through the ball. He doesn't need to take a big cut at it to get 145 yards. We'll go with him, and I think he'll be fine.
Obviously, the walk-on program here has been huge over the years, but what is it specifically about the center position where you guys are able to find guys, cultivate them, and turn them into starters?
Well, one, it's scary. That's the scariest position to have guys that have to play, whether the backups or even down the line guys, whether it's a third-team guy or not, because they have a difficult job. They got to make calls and snap the ball and function. So we've just been fortunate, and Rye was awesome for us and in his game, and he struggled some in the first half. But he got better as the game went on, made some plays, and started to realize it's not that bad. I can do this, and we've just been fortunate that we've had quality young men that walked on and been able to give us some good snaps. But we were really proud of what he gave us in that game and kept us alive and afloat, and so we could have a chance to win.
So you're managing everything that's not going your way in the first half and trying to figure out changes to make, and then you got Gary Busey coming up to you. Mm-hmm. And while the game's going on, what did he say to you?
Well, it was awesome because he said, man, you've always been my hero, man. And I didn't know he was down there. I knew somebody said he was going to be here, but I wasn't expecting him to be there actually when the play was going on. But I guess that's him. And I said, well, you're welcome here all the time. I said, you need to come around, road games, whatever. We'll take care of you. Oh man, I love it, man. I didn't know I could be around. I said, oh, you can be around whatever you want. So it was entertaining. It was a little surprising, I will say, but it was entertaining, and it was good that he was around and excited. He goes, man, I watch Cowboy football all the time, So it was pretty cool, I guess.
Isn't it amazing that sometimes celebrities are different from their on-screen persona, but that guy is exactly who he is.
Yeah, he was for that 90 seconds that I talked to him. In that, what's amazing though is celebrities and different people, they love college football. They watch it, and like the golfers, like all those guys that have come through here that play on the pro tour, they're liable to have a streaming phone or something while they're practicing to watch our games, even when they're in tournaments. And he was the same way. He said, I watch you guys all the time, and I love that. So it's pretty cool, But I think he was pretty close to what you see at the movie theater.
Mike, you broke out the dance moves after the game. Were the players asking for it, or do you just?
Yeah, they I don't do it unless they ask for it. A couple reasons. One, it's kind of old news, and two, it's hard on my knees. 51 years old makes it tough.
Where do the halftime adjustments, as well as they worked, I mean, where does that rank? And you think about it, we can think back to maybe even, was it 06 at Kansas when flipped everything and Bowman and Reed hooked up? I mean,
it's probably the last time. I mean, I would have not have remembered that if you hadn't brought it up, but it was from an offensive standpoint, it was the best that I had probably been around in a while. Just, wadding it, game plan up, throwing away, and going to the other sets worked good. Defensively is more technique. Schemes and stuff were okay. We're just getting out of gaps, and we weren't, bending and getting in the right positions, and they adjusted there and settled in a little bit better in the second half.
Mike, how does that go down? I mean, when halftime comes, do you guys meet immediately when you get to the locker room and decide what direction you're going to go? How does that go down?
Well, the offensive coaches go in a room and with the quarterbacks, and they work for 6 or 8 minutes, and they decide what they're going to do, and then they go to the rest of the positions. Defensive coaches go in their area and do the same, have the same concept. And then you get you get about 4 or 5 minutes to get back to the linemen and the running backs and the DBs and defensive linemen, linebackers, and give them that information and what the plan is. Cash comes in and handles the special teams in the first 5 minutes, and any issues we have, he brings them up and coaches that up, tries to get all that cleaned up, or this is what we're doing good, we're going to stay with this, so on and so forth. And it's, it was no different than what, we went in and said, this is not working. And said, well, let's just start over, and we started over.
Do you go with the offense?
I go with the offense, yeah. I go in there and listen to them. And, I mean, we play 13 games this year. 11 of them, I just say a few things, a couple things I see. I don't get involved in much of it. Sometimes a little more than others, and then sometimes like Saturday a bunch, but it's pretty rare.
Every coach probably has been in a situation, can kind of relate to what Coach Patterson's got. I mean, he started losing guys in fall camp when he lost his best defensive lineman. It's snowballed, and now his team kind of battled back a little bit to where they could get to a bowl Saturday. Is there any empathy? I know it's competition.
Well, it's hard for all of us, Those two ends he has are still playing really good. So I don't know what it would have been like with the other guy, but those guys are playing really good. It's the world we live in, right? There's more. I think you see more guys injured now than ever before, based on the players now are like finely tuned sports cars. They can have something go wrong a little bit. Maybe more so than it used to be years ago. The game's more physical than it ever has been. And it's, it's not the easiest thing to deal with, but you got to try to put the guys out there to give you the best chance and make do with what you have and go on down the road. But it's pretty popular across the country now. Some years worse than others, but sometimes it's not always the easiest thing to do.
I don't know if you remember, you guys recruited Grayson Muhlstein, the quarterback that's going to step up for them. It's been a while. I think he may be a fifth-year guy. I
know he's been there at least 4, I think, but I'm not sure how many, but it's been a while. I remember him coming out, though.
Pretty athletic kid from what I remember.
Yeah, I can't remember his tape from back then. That's been years ago. I've seen so much stuff back then, but I remember the name. The name's easy to remember.
Mike, what are the things you're looking for this week from your team to know that you think they're ready for Saturday?
I don't know anymore what you look for. It's been years since I realized, how practices go. Like I said, I've seen Thursday practices that made me want to cringe, and we knocked 600 yards out. I've seen Thursday practices that were clean, and we couldn't function at all. So we just try to stay consistent with the plan and be simple, not get out of our box, and talk about being a smart football player. And then you have to practice it during the week. The talk part of it doesn't do a lot. We have to focus and practice on it and make sure that we're teaching and coaching what we say we ask them to do. That way we know that we're actually getting those results instead of just talking about it.
Excuse me. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Is it hard for you and your staff to find a balance between the verbal part of it and the execution part of it?
Not really. I mean, I've said this from day one. You know, we explain to them what we want, and then we have to coach it and teach it along the way. So if you're asking them to be in good body position with the proper finish on defense, where your knees are bent to where you can try to do the best you can, like 20 did here with the quarterback when he caused the fumble. He was in perfect body position and control, and he attacked and made that tackle. So you have to coach that during the week. So when they're in their team versus scout periods, if guys are running, they're out of control, and they're just touching off and all that, you got to stop it and fix it. Or that's what they're going to do in a game, in my opinion. You got to tell them, I want knees bent, I want you in good proper condition where you can make that tackle. Same thing on offense. You know, if you're teaching and coaching ball security and they're in practice and their ball gets loose and it's not there, you have to stop it, teach it, coach it, and tell them right then, it's not the way we carry the ball. So I think it's more about, coaching is more about following through on what we ask them to do, and then don't let them get away with any little thing at all. That gives you the best chance, in my opinion.
Mike, you talked about post-game how happy you were for Taylor. Do you personally feel any satisfaction, justification, given the feedback from the outside that people gave you early on for choosing him as a starter?
Were you not here on my last speech on feedback from the outside?
I'm well aware.
I don't get any satisfaction out of anything. Between myself and the coaches, I mean, we're going to do what we think's best. I think he's probably justified himself to be a quarterback at this level, and there'll always be people that doubt things on the outside, but you know, I don't know what his numbers are. I honestly don't pay attention to any of that. I'm going to guess his numbers are probably pretty close to guys we've had here the last few years. And those guys, you know, Mason left here as maybe the most decorated quarterback that we've ever had, and there were some games that he had that we weren't real favorable with, and he felt the same way. He texted me after the game and, you know, and said he's real excited for Corn and what he's done, and because he lived in that world with him, you know, for 3 years. So mainly, if there's any justification at all, and I really mean this, I don't think Corn cares at all. He loves to play football. He loves to be at Oklahoma State. He loves his team. He loves to compete. And if people like him, I think he's probably okay with that. Human nature is you want people to like you. If people doubt him, I don't really think he cares. Now, some players are not like that. Some players let things like that eat them up. And that makes it extremely difficult to live in the world we're in today with so many people having a platform that don't know a lot about what they're talking about. So I think it's good for him that he just handles things the way he handles it. I know this. I know the team has tremendous respect for him, and the coaching staff does. Other than that, it's hard to really satisfy anything.
Yeah, it didn't work out for Chris Smith, who was, I thought, a very good backup to you. Loyal and supported you. Mason had that same luxury with Corn. Mm-hmm. Is it kind of good, though, to see a guy who handled that role when he gets the big stage, handle it as well as Corn has?
Yeah, it's been awesome for him, and you have to be strong. I mean, I don't give a flip about outside sources, but kids may listen to that, and those do affect people based on what happens in society. That's one thing we don't talk enough about. Everything that we do or say affects people to a certain extent. You know, it can trickle down to the bullying effect that we're trying to get out of junior highs and high schools. And, you know, if we're not careful, things we say or do is no different than bullying on the internet. So, you know, here, like Chris Smith that was here when I was here, graduated with an engineering degree. And, yeah, maybe it didn't work out as much in football because he wasn't on the field as much as he wanted to. But I know he had a really good job in engineering, and then I know that a headhunter got him, and I think he was at one time a CEO of a pharmaceutical company and doing really, really well. So from that standpoint, it worked out great. The football aspect, sometimes we always can't control that. But there is what Nathan asked about, there is satisfaction with me for Taylor because of what happened. Not from the outside, just because he's put a lot into the organization. From that standpoint, yes, I get satisfaction in that.
Talk about Thanksgiving as far as it's a football holiday. Kind of give us a Mike Gundy perspective, because you have to practice on Thanksgiving. It's a goal when you're a high school kid.
Favorite holiday. because you get to get hopefully you get together with family and you eat and spend time. And you don't have to open presents. Presents are a distraction. This is family and football and good food, and it's always been the favorite holiday in our family, and it is with me. Now I'll have Thursday with my side, and then Kristen will have her side Friday, and be a little different this year because Kale's he won't be there because they have to leave. Usually he's there and keeps it entertained, and now he may drain the refrigerator out of beer, but at least he's there and it's good entertainment. So it's a great time for us. They play what? Do they play a day or game or night game?
Night.
Yeah. So we'll say I'll be in Texas, right? We'll be at TCU. Yeah. So that'll give me something to do Friday night. But no, it's a great time. It's always a lot of fun, and we've been very, very, very lucky that we've got a lot of family around, and now nieces and grandnieces and grandkids and great grandkids, and so it's a great holiday. My favorite by far.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite dish on Thanksgiving?
I do all vegetables. I love all the sides, every kind of asparagus and the casseroles and mac and cheeses and sweet potato stuff and the I don't know what all my mom and sister make, all kinds of stuff. But I do all the vegetables because I can get the ham or the turkey any day of the year, but they make some stuff that I can't get. They do greens and different potato casseroles and all that, so that's my favorite.
You mentioned Taylor's even temperament throughout the year.
You went right off Thanksgiving, didn't you? You said, I'm done with that, man. I mean, a young guy, he's like, dude, I got to write this up. I mean, people will be on me.
What kind of goes through your mind, like in the first half when that defender kind of got in his face, he didn't really back down? What's kind of going through your mind in that moment?
It's interesting. I'll be honest with you. I'm so not into that stuff. And I know Gavin and Kevin Clintworth, they get nervous when I get off track, but
Wonder why.
yeah. I've been good, though. I haven't got off on any rants or anything. I don't like that part of the game, okay? Some people say, well, it's aggressiveness and all that. To your point, there was twice that happened in the game. Do you see the other one down here? On Tylan Wallace in the corner. Okay, well, I was a little shocked because that's not anything from him. He's probably sowed his oats a little bit, and he's like, hey, this is my team. That might have been the first time that he personally said, this is my team. Because, Mason lived in that world, but he had a lot of games of experience. But back to the subject, I answered your question. I can't stand it in the NFL. I can't stand it in college, and I can't stand it in high school. It's got nothing to do with the game. Just play the game. Can somebody please catch a ball and get a first down and not do this? Just one time. That's your job. Now, I bet James Washington doesn't do that. I haven't watched enough. Does he not do it? See? It's been raised the right way. I know they do it. I know it sells tickets. I know people like it. My youngest son's favorite player is Odell, so he loves watching all that, and that's what people want. But I'm not a big fan of any. Let's just play the game, okay? And let's do things the right way. You're supposed to get a first down. You're supposed to make a good run. You're supposed to make a good tackle. We don't have to celebrate every time we do something that's normal. That's the way I feel about it.
How has Justice been coming along?
He's doing better. I would expect him to be out there and running around. He has one of those injuries I told you last week. He should, at this point, get a lot better every day. If he feels good, we'll roll with it. If he doesn't feel good, we won't put him out there.
Kansas announced their new head coach yesterday, Les Miles.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about having him back in the conference?
Well, it'll be entertaining. This conference has been entertaining, and now it'll be even more entertaining with Coach. I'm glad he got back into it. I'm not sure why anybody that gets past 60 would want to be back into it, but it's awesome for him that he wanted to do it, and he had a relationship with Jeff that goes way back, and so they'll make a run at it. But it was good to see him back out there, and nothing like seeing a guy in a coat and tie and a ball cap.
Do you think his style of offense that he ran here and at LSU can translate to the Big 12, or do you think he's going to have to expand it to kind of the spread offenses that you see now in the Big 12?
Did he say he was going to run that offense?
I don't think he really talked about it.
I thought it was going to be interesting to see what he was going to do. I think that may be more interested than whether one or the other will work, is what his thought will be on this is what we need to do at Kansas to have enough to score points or whatever his plan is to win games. I think that'll be interesting. If he decides to do what he's done, he knows that offense blindfolded, and he knows it. And if you guys, some of y'all that have been around him, you know him. If he decides to do it now, he's going to do it, and he's not going to worry about what people think if that's the direction he goes.
Can you run some of those concepts out of spread?
Yeah, you can. It's not as easy with some of the stuff he does based on trying to gain a gap advantage. You gain gap advantages with tight end and wings, basically. So when you're short-edged, it's really hard to do. Now you're seeing more pull plays. Oklahoma's made the double pull play famous the last few years. More people are trying to run that. It's a really good football play. If you have a guy that can keep, like the guy they had this year and last year, they can make that a really good play by protecting the edge, by just keeping the ball. That would be the closest thing to some of the stuff he's done. He's done a lot of running plays, but the plays you're talking about, you need a tight end and a wing to get an advantage, in my opinion. He may know something I don't, but that would be my opinion.
What were you doing when you first heard the news?
About Coach? Gosh, I don't know. I think everybody knew for days. I was guessing that if he took a $4.5 million cut from Louisiana, that he had some security that he was going to get the Kansas job. I know he's 65, but you figure he can still add good. So once that happened, he'll like that comment. Once that happened, I felt pretty sure that he had the Kansas job. I can't imagine a guy would forfeit $4.5 million.
Still kind of need an interpreter for his news conferences.
I have not seen any of that. Did not catch any of that. I heard him talking down the hall, but I didn't get any of it. So.
Have you talked to him?
Have not talked to him. I'm looking forward to seeing him at the spring meetings.
That's what I was going to ask. How do you think those coaches' meetings are going to be now, having him back?
It's a pretty good group right now, One thing about our meetings, and I've said this, we all get along. We get along. We don't. There's been some heated exchanges, but pretty much everybody's good after that. Not like what I hear that goes on at the SEC in their meetings. So you got some different personalities in there, and so it'll be interesting.
How much have you kept up with them over the years?
Well, it's easy to follow. You just, look and see if they've won. I see them play some, not a lot. I don't watch a lot of people, but it's been pretty easy to keep up with them. The tree goes on with Henson and Mallory's and Munkins and all the people that were here with us. Everybody kind of networks. I don't network, but they network with people, and I hear different things. And so I saw where his son threw a touchdown pass, a Hail Mary before halftime. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
You were one of his first guests on his podcast when he started those. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting. That was good stuff.
If Kansas comes here next year, is that going to be weird for you standing in this stadium with him on the other side?
You know what's funny about that? People ask me that about Cale being over there and Dana and Wickline and I don't know how many other guys that we've had, Meacham and Looper and names going. I forget who's over there. I never actually even look at the other head coach. You just I live in my own world. I got no idea what's going on over there. So I would probably forget after about midway through the first quarter.
That said, you have referred to him as coach the entire time. This is still a guy that you hold in a high regard.
Yeah, I'm pretty old-fashioned. You guys know how I am about things like that. He's still, to me, a mentor from a standpoint of he taught me a lot of offensive football, things that I didn't have any clue. And I think that his pedigree, which we have here with Josh, dates all the way back to Coach Schembechler and them. And I think that they're as good at training guys to play offensive line as there are. And so, to me, he's coach. He's a coach. He's been very good to my family. And so I just kind of see him that way, plus he's a lot older than me. So.